Hey guys, in today's video, I'm going to be showing you the entire process of this jaguar tattoo that I did. It is going to be all about fur textures, breaking down that process for you guys. So let me show you guys what I'm working with today and my setup, and then we'll get started. All right guys, so here is my design that I'm going to be working on for today. As you can see, we have the adult jaguar and the baby jaguar, the cub. That is what my client was looking for to represent him and his father. He's a Jags fan, Duval, shout out Duval. So this is what we came up with, and he likes the design. I love it. I thought it was really simple and clean. It's just exactly what he was looking for. I added the negative space leaves in there because I just think that would give it more of a atmosphere of it being in the jungle. This is also a tattoo that I feel like I could tie into in the future if he ever wants to add more to it, but today I'm going to be just mainly focusing on this piece and show you guys how I approach the fur textures. There's going to be two different ways that I'm going to be approaching this today. One way being how I would approach like a more softer with the cub, and then more of like a shorter hair jaguar at the top, like more of a shorter hair for the adult jaguar at the top. There's two different types of fur textures there, so I'm going to show you guys what I'm going to be doing with that today. But let me show you guys my setup and then we'll get started. For my setup today, I am actually using the Dragon Hawk tattoo machine. Just wanted to kind of get something new, just try something out. Everybody always asks me why the 4.5 stroke, and this one actually goes up to 4.2, so that's what I will be messing around with today, is the different strokes. Honestly, just kind of giving more of my feedback as to why I like the 4.5 stroke, because I've been using the 4.5 stroke for years now and I just absolutely like it. It works for me, it works really well, but I'm gonna use a different strokes today just to kind of give more depth of what exactly I like from the 4.5, comparing it to down to, this thing goes down to 2.4, but I probably won't go down that low. I'll probably stay around the 3.6, 3.3 strokes and just kind of try that out and give more of my feedback. Got the stencil here, we're about to place it on. I'm still using my metal fingers. Love these guys, they're great, very consistent. A lot of you guys ask about why metal fingers. Like I said, just very consistent, really good quality. Today I'm using a 3 round liner bug pin, a 9 curve mag bug pin, a 13 curve mag bug pin, and a 19 curve mag bug pin. We're not going to be using anything bigger than that because the stencil is a fairly decent size and I think this is really all that I need. So I'll be using the liner to get all the sharp edges, like the eyes, nose, the whiskers, all the really sharp edges that we need. And then the 9 curve mag and 13 curve mag are really going to be for my blocking and all the blacks and the grays. And then that 19 curve mag I'm going to use a lot for smoothing out my shades today with the pendulum motion that you guys see me use. That's going to be my setup for needles. And for inks, I have the Allegory Ultra Black. Love that black. I use it for everything. Even when I'm building tones, that's what I really like to use the black for. I have medium gray wash and extra light gray wash and a cap of white ink. I like to kind of dip into the white ink. A lot of people like to pre-mix their gray wash, or they like to add white ink into it and pre-mix. I personally just don't do that, and honestly the reason why is I like to kind of control my own white wash or gray wash however I want to use it. So that's why I have an extra cap of white ink and I just kind of dip throughout. So I'll show you guys what I mean by that. Really, there's no right or wrong way to do it. It's just your preference. Then I'm also working with the Lubriderm. I use this throughout the tattoo. And then also I have some hustle butter here to make sure that my stencil doesn't wipe away as I'm wiping on his skin. I have some dip caps here that's going to clean out my needles after I dip it in some water. And this is just the setup, so very easy. Got some water here too. Consistent throughout the rest of the tattoos that I do. I like to keep it pretty easy and simple. So let me place the stencil and we'll get started shortly. If you guys are liking what you're seeing so far in these videos, I am now offering an all-access membership. This membership will feature exclusive content including live commentaries, design breakdowns, and tattoo critiques. If this interests you, hit the join now button to be a part of this community and get all access to this exclusive content and more. So I've talked about fur texture before. I've talked about creating individual strands, direction, contrast, and how I build animal realism in other videos. But with this piece, I want to talk more about my decision making because I think that's something that is much harder to teach. It's easy for me to tell you what needle I'm using exactly, and it's easy for me to tell you the stroke length of the machine that I'm using. But what's more important is understanding why I decided to use that tool at that particular moment. And this tattoo of this jaguar and this cub is a really good example because there are so many different different scales of information happening within the same tattoo. You've got extremely small features in the faces, tiny markings around the eyes, larger patterns throughout the head and body. You've got soft transitions, sharp transitions, and even though we look at all of that and we call it fur, I don't necessarily tattoo all of it as fur. I'm looking at it at different size shapes, and the size of those shapes is going to determine how I approach them. Something I really want newer artists to understand is that I don't necessarily have a needle that I use specifically for fur, and I think sometimes when you're learning, you want those really straightforward answers. What needle do you use for fur? What needle do you use for eyes? What needle do you use for portraits? But that's not really how I choose my needles. Instead of choosing a needle based on what I'm tattooing, I choose it based on what I need that needle to accomplish. For example, two of the main groupings I'm using throughout this tattoo is a 3 round liner and a 9 curved mag buck pin. Those needles aren't interchangeable, but I'm also not saying this. This part is fur, so I'm using a 3 round liner. I'm looking at the actual size of the mark I'm trying to create. If the shape is extremely small, the 3 round liner makes sense. If that exact type of shape becomes larger, now the 3 round liner might actually become inefficient. That's when I can move into the 9 curved mag. So instead of thinking about needles as being assigned to certain subjects, start thinking about them as different size tools. Look at the size of the mark that you're making. If you look closely at the jaguar's face, there are areas where the information gets extremely small, especially around the eyes, nose, mouth, and some of the smaller patterns. That's where I want the control of my 3 round liner. I can create those tiny shapes without affecting everything surrounding them. But as I move farther away from those areas, the scale starts changing. The pattern becomes larger, the shadows become wider, the texture becomes less about one tiny mark and more about an entire mass. Now I have to ask myself, does it still make sense to use a 3 round liner? Sometimes the answer is no, and I think that's where artists can accidentally make a tattoo harder than it needs to be. Just because your smallest needle can technically create something doesn't mean that it's the best needle to create it with. Imagine trying to paint an entire wall with a tiny paintbrush. You could do it, but why? That's basically how I look at the needle groupings. The 3 round liner is giving me precision. The 9 curved mag buck pin is giving me coverage while still allowing me to create really controlled texture. Your reference is constantly giving you clues. One thing I've learned over the years is that your reference usually tells you what tool you need if you know what you're looking for. Look at the size of the shape, look at how hard the soft the edge is, look at how much space you need to cover, and look how much separation exists between one feature and another. That's giving you information. So instead of staring at a reference and thinking, how am I going to tattoo all of this? I try to break it into smaller problems. What am I trying to accomplish right now? Maybe I need a tiny dark mark next to the eye. Grab the 3 round liner. Maybe I need a larger shadow underneath the jaw. That's a different problem. Grab the mag. Maybe I need to connect those two areas without creating an obvious transition. That's another problem. Every section gives me a question, and the needle selection is basically my answer. That way of thinking makes complicated realism much less overwhelming. The jaguar patterns are a perfect example. The markings on a jaguar make this especially interesting, because if you zoom into the reference, those patterns aren't really clean. They're irregular, they're broken, some are almost completely black. Some have lighter areas inside of them, some have very defined edges, others disappear into the surrounding fur, and their scale changes constantly. That's why I don't want to create every marking using exactly the same technique. If I did that, they would start looking stamped onto the animal. Instead, I'm changing how I create them. Sometimes I'm establishing a larger pattern with my mag, then maybe I'll come back with my 3 round liner and break up an edge. Other times I might start with the liner because there's a very specific shape I want to preserve. Then I'll use the mag around it to integrate it into everything else. I'm not thinking finish this spot, I'm thinking build this shape. That distinction is important. Don't confuse more detail with realism. Another thing I want to talk about with this piece is something I think happens a lot with realism. We automatically associate smaller needles with more detail. And technically, yes, a smaller needle allows you to create smaller marks, but that doesn't automatically make your tattoo more realistic. Sometimes it actually hurts your realism. If I created this entire jaguar with a 3 round liner, I could put an insane amount of information into it, but I could also completely destroy the hierarchy of the image. We're not going for a stipple technique, we're going for realism. Everything would have the same level of importance. The forehead would have just as much information as the eye, the outside of the head would have just as much information as the center of the face, and suddenly the viewer doesn't know where to look. Realism needs hierarchy. Some information needs to be more obvious, and some needs to be more subtle. That's why using different sized needles becomes part of the composition itself. Think about viewing distance. Here's another way that I think about detail. Ask yourself, at what distance do I want somebody to notice this? There are details in this tattoo that you'll see from across the room, and then there are details that you're only going to notice when you get close. There are also tiny little decisions you might not consciously notice at all, but they help everything else feel realistic. Those are 3 completely different types of information. Your large value shapes make the tattoo readable from a distance. Your medium-sized patterns give your animal their identity, and your smallest details reward somebody for looking closer. That's where my 3 round liner really becomes useful. It's almost the last level of information orientation. But if the smallest level is all you focus on, the tattoo won't necessarily work from farther away. Why I'm using a 3.6 stroke in this tattoo. I also intentionally wanted to do something different with my machine setup for this piece. If you watched my channel for a while, you've probably heard me talk about using a 4.5mm stroke. And I get comments about it constantly, people asking why I use such a long stroke. People ask if they need a 4.5 to tattoo the way I tattoo, whether it's too aggressive for black and gray realism. The answer is really simple. I've been using it for years. I'm comfortable with it. That's really it. I know that answer isn't as exciting as there being some secret reason behind it, but your machine setup becomes extremely personal after you've tattooed for a very long time. You develop timing with it, you understand how your hand speed works with it, you know how quickly it puts pigment into the skin, and eventually it becomes second nature. So for me, that's what happened with the longer stroke. I never want artists watching my videos to think, Chris uses a 4.5, so I need to use a 4.5 to do realism. You don't. And that's actually one of the reasons I wanted to use a 3.6mm stroke for this tattoo. The number isn't the technique. I wanted to take away one of the variables that people sometimes associate with my work. If I can switch from a 4.5 that I'm used to and move all the way down to a 3.6 or 3.9 and still create the same style of tattoo, then hopefully it makes something clear. The stroke isn't the technique. My decision making hasn't changed. I'm still looking at value, I'm still looking at the scale, and I'm still deciding where something needs hard edge and where it needs to be soft. I'm still deciding between my liner and my mag. I'm still deciding on how much information belongs in one area. The machine feels different, but the way I'm thinking doesn't. And I think that's really important because tattooing has so much equipment now. There are so many machines, so many cartridges, different strokes, different cams, different voltages, and it's really easy to think that you're missing some piece of equipment that's going to suddenly unlock a certain result. Most of the time, that's not what's holding you back. Learn your setup instead of chasing someone else's. If you gave 5 artists the same exact machine I'm using right now, all 5 of them might use it differently. One person might move faster, one might move slower, or one might run it a completely different voltage. Someone may hate the way that it feels and someone else may love it. That's why I don't think there's much value in blindly copying somebody else's setup. Use it as a starting point and experiment with it, but then actually pay attention to what happens. If you shorten your stroke, what changes? If you slow down your hand, what changes? If you switch from a liner to a mag, what happens to the edge? If you change your angle, what happens? That's how you start developing your own technique. You're building a relationship between your hand and the machine instead of memorizing somebody else's numbers. The cub was another area where I wanted to make different decisions, even though I'm technically tattooing the same type of animal. I didn't want to treat the cub like a miniature version of the adult jaguar. There's a softness to it that I wanted to preserve. So even though I have access to the same needles, I'm changing how much information I'm putting into certain areas. Some edges can be softer, and some of those patterns don't need the same level of definition. And that helps the cub feel different without me needing some completely different cub for a technique. This is why I keep coming back to decision making. Technique isn't always about learning another movement. Sometimes technique is deciding not to make the mark at all. Knowing when to leave something alone, this is probably something I've gotten better at the longer I've tattooed. Knowing when to stop, especially with realism. Because it's so easy to look at an area and think, I can put another detail here. Of course you could. There's always another detail that you could add. But does it improve the tattoo? That's the question. Sometimes leaving a small section of skin untouched gives you more texture than putting 10 little lines into it. And sometimes a soft transition makes sharp detail beside it look even sharper. Sometimes an unfinished looking area up close becomes completely believable when you step back. You're not tattooing for the reference to look perfect at 2 inches away. You're building an image that needs to work as a whole. Use the biggest tool that still gives you control. If you're struggling with what needle grouping to choose, here's one rule that can make things easier. Use the largest grouping that still allows you to create the shape accurately. If a 9 curve mag bug pin can make the shape that I need, I don't need to spend 10 minutes trying to recreate it with a 3 round liner. But if the 9 curve mag bug pin is too large and I'm losing control of the shape, now I need to size down. It's almost like choosing brushes when you're painting. You don't paint the entire canvas with your smallest brush. You establish the large information first and then progressively move smaller as the image requires it. The tattoo determines the tool, not the other way around. What I want you to pay attention to in this video, as you're watching the rest of this process, instead of just watching the needle move, pay attention to when I switch tools. Look at what happens in the reference right before I switch. Did the shapes get smaller? Did the edge become sharper? Did I move into a focal point? Or did I suddenly need to cover a larger area? Those transitions are where I think you can learn the most. Because eventually, I want you to be able to look at your own reference and make those decisions without thinking, what would Chris use here? I want you to understand enough to say, this is the tool that makes sense for what I'm trying to accomplish. That is the goal. If you guys like the style of breakdown but want to see exactly what I'm doing without the footage being sped up, that's really what I've created my all access membership for. The all access membership is where I can take these breakdowns much further. You'll actually get to watch a slowed down version of my process while I'm explaining what I'm doing in real time. So instead of me showing you a finished section and explaining the concept afterwards, you're seeing the decision as they're happening. I'll explain why I'm changing needles, what I'm seeing in the reference, why I'm choosing to darken something, why I'm leaving another area alone, and how I'm approaching a transition. And even when something isn't working exactly how I want it to, I can explain how I'm adjusting. I think that's where a lot of the real learning happens, because tattooing isn't a perfectly rehearsed sequence of steps. You're constantly making decisions based on what the skin and the tattoo are giving you. The regular YouTube videos are where I can teach you larger concepts and give you things you can apply to your own work, but the All Access membership is where we can slow everything down and really get into the details of how concepts are actually being applied. So if there's one thing I want you to take away from this tattoo, don't memorize my equipment, learn the reason behind my choices. Yes, I used a 3-round liner. Yes, I used a 9 curve mag bug pin. Yes, I used a 3.6mm stroke instead of the 4.5 you've seen me use 100 times, but none of those things are the reason this tattoo works. They're just tools that I choose based on what was in front of me. The small shapes told me when I needed the 3-round liner. The large shapes told me when I needed the mag. The softer areas told me when to back off. The focal points told me when I can add more information. And switching from my normal 4.5 stroke didn't change any of those decisions. That's the part of the tattoo I think takes the longest to learn. Eventually, you're not thinking about a list of rules anymore. You're looking at the tattoo, identifying what it needs, and choosing the best way you know how to get there. And that's what I wanted to show you with this piece. Anyways, thank you guys for watching this video. I hope this gave you a different perspective on how I choose my tools and approach a tattoo like this. Anyways, thank you guys for watching this video. Let me show you the final results. If you are liking what you're seeing so far and you want to get a tattoo done by me, just go ahead and send me an email to chrisherscheltattoos@gmail.com. Give me a little bit of an introduction of yourself and some reference photos of what you're looking to get done. I specialize in black and gray realism and the color realism that you guys see on my page. So if this is something that interests you, go ahead and send me an inquiry and maybe we could do something together. Thank you guys for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it and I hope it helps you. If you guys would like to watch more of these videos, go to my channel and check out every video that I have to see more textures about fur and hair, anything like that. Also, I do have a premium membership called the All Access membership. So if you guys would like to join that and see more of the full in-depth process, it is in real time, me explaining the entire process from start to finish. So thank you guys for watching. I hope you liked this video. Please like, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.